Hi, Andrea and Jenny. It's Courtney Carver from BeMoreWithLess.com, and I have some answers to the questions you submitted. So I'm going to go through them 1 through 4, and I really appreciate the opportunity to think about this. They're great questions. All right, number 1, women working in healthcare are often in a place of burnout, but don't feel like there is an option to make changes as it's necessary to financially support families and current lifestyles. When discussing the idea of simplicity, making big changes may not feel like an option. Thinking back to where you were before your MS diagnosis, what would you tell women who are heading towards their heart, body, and or mind breaking down but aren't sure if it's possible to change? Well, first of all, if you are noticing that you're going in this direction, congratulations. I had no idea I was headed towards this health crisis. Um, and I probably wouldn't have thought it was possible to change. But knowing what I know after being through it, I know, of course, that all things are possible. And while it may not be possible to keep everything the same and make a change, it is possible to change and have other things change. So I know one thing you mentioned, that it's challenging to make a change when it's necessary to financially support families and current lifestyles. It may be that you have to change your lifestyle. And at first you may think, well, I don't want to change my lifestyle. But clearly, if that were the case, you wouldn't be on the brink of a breakdown. So you just might not realize yet that changing your current lifestyle could be changing it positively, even if that means scaling back and supporting your family in a different way. But either way, if you are noticing that and you're paying attention, that really is such an important part of the process, just that noticing. So if you are noticing that, really pay attention to it. I mean, that is part of your wake-up call. And so denying it is only going to contribute to you feeling like you are outside of yourself. All right, question 2. As women working in the healthcare field, our schooling and the corporate world pushes us to focus on research and logic and to leave emotion and intuition at the door. Oftentimes, this makes it difficult for us to be open to the woo that you discuss in Soulful Simplicity. However, from experience, we know that there can be a beautiful balance to science and the woo. What would you say to those who struggle to accept the woo as they read your book? Well, I'll say I totally get you because I struggled and still struggle to accept the woo, although it's worked its way into my life more than it had before, for sure. But for me, I can accept the woo as long as there is some practical application in most cases. Now, in some ways, not. For instance, I practice transcendental meditation. There's a lot of research and science behind it, but when I'm practicing, the way that I feel is not comparable to any other meditation that I've done. And it feels so good that I can sit quietly for 20 minutes twice a day without worrying that I'm spending too much time meditating or wishing it were over or wondering when the time is going to be up. I look forward to it. I can't wait for it. There is a lot of woo in the way that I feel when I am doing this meditation, but I can't explain it, and I'm not going to dismiss the benefits because I can't explain it. So that's what makes me want to be more open to other woo things. So I understand that desire to have everything explained and proven, and especially in your field. But I would say you're probably going to miss out on some incredible healing opportunities if you don't give it a chance. It can't hurt. I mean, that's usually the thing I come back to. I know when I was first diagnosed with MS, I tried all different kinds of like complementary treatments, not really knowing if they would work, but I just trusted that they wouldn't hurt. So if I thought something would be harmful, I wouldn't do it. Like there was some recommendations to do, oh gosh, I think it was something like bee stings. And I immediately thought no. And I didn't question that no. I believed it and didn't do the bee stinging thing. But craniosacral massage, why not? Why wouldn't I try that? And there were some other things similar to that. Question number 3. In your book, you mentioned that your doctor's office nonchalantly gave you your MS diagnosis over the phone while you were at work and the devastation that followed. What advice do you have for burnt out healthcare professionals that would improve their ability to love and support themselves and in turn their patients? Well, I'd say for starters that you aren't going to be able to treat your patients in a loving way for very long if you don't treat yourself in a loving way. It doesn't work. And the same goes for our families. We cannot give them our best until we give ourselves our best. And I'm sure you've thought this advice for some of your patients too, but sometimes we forget to give it back to ourselves. And as healthcare professionals, like really knowing and trusting and taking care of yourself is probably the best thing that you can do for your patients, because then you have the ability to really pay attention and to connect and to not just kind of churn and burn, which I feel like as a patient I've experienced so many times. Like I can feel that urgency of getting me out the door and checking the boxes. And when you're dealing with either a new diagnosis, a chronic illness, something that isn't very clear in terms of diagnosis, all you want is understanding. I mean, I don't even think I really needed concrete information. I just needed someone who was willing to listen to me and consider me as a partner in my own healthcare. And I wanted to be treated with that respect. And I know that wasn't my experience the first time, from being diagnosed over the phone to when I ask for next steps. They recommend that I look through pharmaceutical marketing kits to pick a drug. I mean, come on. I picked my own medication for multiple sclerosis by reading marketing kits. Like, that's the worst advice you could ever give someone. And the only reason I could imagine that person did that is because they simply didn't have the bandwidth to deal with me, because they were too overwhelmed, too burnt out. I'd like to think they weren't just a callous, uncaring person, because I doubt they would have gone into the field if they were, but they had just lost that ability to care, quite honestly. So I think what we as patients need from healthcare professionals more than anything is that true caring. And you can't do that if you don't care about yourself. And you can say you care about yourself, but if you're not caring for yourself, that's not caring about yourself. Question 4, is there anything else on your heart you would like to share with women in healthcare who are dealing with burnout to conclude this discussion? Also, we know you're working on a new book and would love to hear more about your current projects. Well, I'd like to say, first of all, thank you. I mean, obviously you've been working really hard to get to this stage of burnout in a field where we need you. We really need you there. But we need you to be healthy there, because it's really hard to inspire health in others if you're not healthy yourself, whether that be physical health or mental health. And quite frankly, I think it's all connected, as I'm sure many of you do as well. So take the time that you need to come back to yourself. And I don't know what that looks like, of course. I don't know your individual situations, but just know there's solutions. And the answer for me, for the longest time, I always thought was more like, I don't have enough money, so I'm going to work more. I don't want to deal with this, so I'm going to do this more. I'm going to shop more. I'm going to soothe myself with more food or more alcohol or whatever it was. But what I discovered is that mostly, usually, the solution was less. Um, it was less. So just think about that and how that might apply to your situation. Uh, and again, thank you very much for everything that you do. I am working on a new book. It's coming out in March 2020. It's called Project 333, The Minimalist Fashion Challenge That Proves Less Really Is So Much More. Speaking of less and more. And I will be doing a 17 or 18 city book tour starting in March. And I'd love to see you if I'm coming to your city. You can find out more about that at bemorewithless.com/project 333. And I'm going to be offering a course that goes along with the book. And if you order the book before March 3rd, you'll get the course absolutely free. So it's just one of the things that I did to simplify my life. And even though it started in the closet, it really had nothing to do with my clothes and so much more to do with trusting myself and learning about myself and letting go of stress, which is, I think, something that we can all deal with more of, more letting go of stress. Well, thank you again for listening to my answers. I hope they're helpful. If I can ever expand on anything or help further, anyone that's listening to this can feel free to email me or reach out in any way that feels good to you. I hope you have a great day.